Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Professional's Pulse. I'm Farida Musaddi, the co founder and CEO of Alphateh Technologies Dubai. Well, I also want to let all of you know that apart from Alphateh Technologies, we also operate another company which is under our umbrella, and that's Utuli Excursions and Multi Services, which is headquartered in Spain. And through Atuli, where we use the brand name of Cruisia, we cater to the luxury sector, providing top tier services ranging from private jets to luxury resorts, ensuring that our clients enjoy the highest standards of experiences. And today, on the same lines, we're going to explore how the travel landscape is being redefined in 2024 at the intersection of adventure, emerging destinations, and of course, modern luxury. As travelers, seek more than just a getaway, they are looking for experiences that blend the adrenaline filled adventures with the comfort of high end, sustainable accommodations in destinations that are off the beaten path. This evolution is transforming the travel industry as it responds with innovative, tailored experiences that cater to the modern explorer's desire for both thrill and tranquility. Join us today as we dive into the trends of shaping travel this year, uncovering how adventure tourism, undiscovered locales, and luxury are coming together to offer journeys that are as enriching as they are unforgettable. And joining us today on this episode is Mr. Miraj Yahya Qureshi. Welcome to the Professionals Pulse, Mr. Miraj.
Thank you so much, Ms. Farida. Um, I'm grateful and honored to be here to be talking about the topics that you have defined, and it gives me great pleasure to add information and shed light on whatever new trends that there are in the market from the perspective of traveling side, but also the technology side, which we're heavily investing in.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, for everyone, Mr. Miraj has over 8 years of entrepreneurial experience. He is the founder and director of 365 Adventures, which is a company that offers unique and exciting outdoor activities and tours in Arabia and beyond. His core competencies include team leadership, customer service, marketing, and of course, innovation. His mission is to inspire people to explore new places, challenge themselves, and have fun through adventure. He values diversity, collaboration, and sustainability and strives to bring these values to every project and partnership he engages in. Once again, Mr. Miraj, it's great to have you today with us on the Professionals Pulse. Thank you for being there.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Farida.
So, before we start, you are the director and co founder of Adventure Travel. So, what we want to know is what exactly do you mean by adventure travel? What is your company into? How did this thought of adventure travel come into your mind? And what are some of the most unique and the off beaten path experiences that travelers are seeking today, which your company is offering?
Well, to start with, an adventure travel is anything that puts you kind of outside of your comfort zone, right? Um,
Correct.
um, Solo traveling or traveling for leisure has increasingly become more about trying off-beaten things. So yeah, you want to if you go into UAE, yes, you want to go on Burj Khalifa and experience the high-rise building, but you also want to feel a bit more special and probably dine in the desert, which is, part of the largest desert, for example, empty quarter. And you want to have a keshta there. And perhaps, be in the desert alone and feel the nature. Those are some of the off-beaten. Doesn't have to be a wow experience, just has to be a bit personalized. People are ready to pay for what makes them feel more special, let's say, for example, if you arrive at the airport, the moment you see your name board, it just, the whole country now, you feel like the whole country knows you. And
Exactly.
the feeling of a stranger, that feeling when you get as a stranger, that's gone. Apart from that, it's the same thing they say about the devil is in the detail, but the personalization is also a bit in the detail. So if you're in the car and the car gives you a little bit of there's no difference between Japan and UAE if you use the same car, because from inside they they look the same, but inside the car you want to add a little bit of Arabic touches if you're in UAE or in Saudi, which is a more cultural um, melting point, you
Experience.
can say,
Yeah. Yeah.
and yeah. So if you have those touches added to the car, it just brings you closer to the culture of the country and makes you more comfortable, and also thinks that, okay, the operator or these people are quite nice because they've added, they've sort of given more details in the places which might get noticed during your journey. And then I think that it's good to add something about the tourism and the travel practices through the operators, but also as a tourist, you should embrace these things. And that's like, it's going to cost you a bit more, but avoid using the plastic bottles. So it gives sense of luxury. It's the
Yes.
same car, it's everything the same, but if you give them, a bottled water that is glass bottle, it just changes the perception.
Correct.
So yeah, I hope that, adds a little bit of information to what you just asked.
So it is those small experiences that you give, the personalized touch that you give, that changes the entire experience of the customer.
Tends to, yes. Initially, a lot of people, they prefer that, that the personalization is added to every
Yes,
single thing. So but
that's
the personalization on every trip to be talked about might be hard to do. But
correct.
if you embrace it as a practice for across the board, it costs a bit more. That's the
Yes,
only issue. Sustainability is expensive, by the way, quite expensive. And it can pay off, but it can pay off in a very, very long run.
correct.
And you need to be so the Middle East is also very volatile. Anything can affect it. We're between a lot of conflicts. Although
Yeah,
Middle East is, I mean, GCC is the safest in the world, probably.
true.
The two countries, UAE and Qatar, are like the top ranked countries in the world. Even Saudi, for example, and Oman, they're all amazing, but it's just a volatile region.
Correct,
Yeah.
correct. And today's customers or today's travel enthusiasts, they want, as you said, having dinner maybe in the desert, or enjoying a private yacht experience or a helicopter ride. So when they want to come, they want to enjoy these small experiences, which is giving them a totally different kind of uh, experience as what they would have done in the regular thing. So just visiting a desert safari, but then going with some kind of a personal touch, it totally elevates your journey. And today, because of social media, everybody, wants to post something which is very different. So I think, yes, because of that trend, there is a demand for such kind of experiences.
Correct. So good that you mentioned about the helicopter ride. So helicopter ride is special in its own, okay? But what
Yeah,
makes it more special? It's not the helicopter ride sometimes. It is more what comes around it, okay? So in Doha, there's a very nice experience. We sell it as a not just off-beaten, but it's also an experience. It's also an expensive experience plus luxury as well. It basically ticks all the boxes of, the luxury travel and also personalized. It's dining, on the helipad, on
Oh,
basically one of the top, one of the highest towers in Doha, and that gives you like a 360 view of the city. So Doha is a very modern, very very modern city.
yes, yes,
It's like a mix of a lot of cities around it. Like Dubai has a lot of sky rises, but it's slightly older compared to Doha. Doha has amazing skyline, by the way. From top, it's even nice, and you know, um, I mean, Dubai excels at experiences like these. You're looking at, for example, a hot air balloon experience. I
yes.
was actually shocked to learn about 6, 7 years ago that they do falconry from hot air balloon to hot air balloon. That was so shocking to me. I'm like, this is taking luxury level, luxury. This is not luxury, let's say. This is off beaten, but taking it on a different
Totally
level.
different level.
Like,
Yes,
yes, basically breakfast in the sky is something common. But what
yeah,
about falconry in the sky? That's insane, and it's actually, it sounds normal, but when you're on that hot air balloon, so high up in the sky, free floating, that's already an amazing experience, right? But imagine this giant bird now is going from one hot air balloon to another hot air balloon. Yeah, that makes everything around you unreal. It's like you're not in this world anymore. Humans already are
yes.
supposed to be on the ground. Then we started flying, and now we're flying with the birds, and we're actually, making birds do what we want. So that for me was like, okay, what can I do? you know, this should be taken as inspiration. No, to come up with so many experiences like that, it's quite hard. Let's say, right? It's almost
True,
impossible
true, true.
because what can you do? The craziest thing you want to do here from here is maybe do it from a helicopter, but then there's a propeller above you, so the falcon might go into the propeller. You know, so what do you want to do? I mean, there's a lot of experience already out there. It's just that
Yeah,
luxury travel yet still remains such a small segment. So it will
true.
never be a mass market. It will never be a mass
Yes.
market. Maybe what would be interesting is to make it available on daily basis, or available on operationally available all the time, to make it a bit cheaper, and then anybody can go. So I mean, you see, like basically,
But then the
there's a
essence will
benchmark
miss
now.
out. If that comes down, I
Huh?
think that essence will go down. If it's available at a very cheaper rate, then it will not be no more considered as a special experience. I think it is this, and of course, innovation, as you mentioned. There has to be a constant innovation as to now what next, and that gives it that special edge.
Yeah. So I mean, you're right. Okay, so there has to be constant innovation and all that. But if you if you honestly, if you kind of think about it, if you innovate at that level, you're gonna be left with very little options. If you just come one or two steps below, there's still quite a lot to innovate in the market.
Innovate, yes.
Um, storytelling is one of very nice experiences, especially when done in the desert and under the stars in a silent place by a very good storyteller about the stories that happened, in the Middle East or in the Arabian Peninsula. And we thought that, that is going to be an interesting seller, let's say, yeah. You see, Qatar is quite new. It's the newest country in GCC.
Correct.
So the most basic experiences, I mean, not the basic, the best of the best experiences in Qatar were something that Dubai wasn't even selling anymore. So you're like, okay, we have our own market, of course, even if I didn't innovate, it's totally fine. I will still sell. But how to go
Correct.
out there, how to be out there. Like, there's a famous saying, right? Everybody got its own market. Don't worry, okay? You will not
Yes,
miss. If you have a good offer, if you have something to offer, people will buy, there's always market for it. Unless you're
true.
selling,
Yeah.
something totally worthless. Um, and we thought that it would be a good idea to maybe, do some sort of storytelling in the desert. So we named this character, It's a very famous term that we have in Arabian Peninsula. It's called Abu Ahmed or Abu. Abu means father, of this
Okay.
person,
Yeah.
of the
Yeah.
first son. That and we said, what's the most common name? We thought, of course, Muhammad is the most common name, but it would be nice to have Ahmed instead of Muhammad. And it also is easier on the tongue, Abu Ahmed. And we said that let's do meet and greet with Abu Ahmed in the desert, where he talks about, the ancient stories of how people would use the stars to navigate next to the bonfire while a meal is cooking in a nice seating. So we target around 30, 40 people, for these sort of mini events. These are community events. We don't make money on it. We sell it for a price, but the aim is not to make money. The aim is to collect these people and give them something extraordinary so that these people become then, our very loyal customers. And they do.
Absolutely.
That's how, we're in Qatar very quite there. And to be honest, that event we never sold. But what ended up happening is that companies from Dubai started copying the concept. And I was like, okay, that maybe is the success. That's the real measure of the success.
Yes, that people are
The reason why
copying.
we, yeah, the reason why we didn't end up selling it is because we were trying to sell it in Ramadan. We
Ah,
thought that if we go for something crazy during Ramadan, we'll make money in Ramadan because Ramadan is for us a dry month.
correct.
Like we don't really sell any. We don't really sell much. So and then I got to know these companies in UAE and I saw their levels and I started benchmarking them. I'm like, okay, these companies are quite good. One of them is, for example, Platinum Heritage. So
Yeah.
when I was looking at them, like, my God, this company is so nice, and whatever they were offering, it was so insane. Like they offer the name itself, would offer the whole what do you call it?
Emirati
It
experience.
was self-defining. Yeah, it was self-explanatory experience. Like there's a platinum side, there's a heritage side. Both of them, in the end, lead you to the camp that they have. Okay, in the
Yes.
conservation side, which is also a very nice concept. So not just sustainable, but also like practicing it on a different level, like using the same tracks all the time, no desert safari. And that's boring, but it's so good. They're actually trying to minimize the impact of whatever they're using, because cars and all that. So the name Platinum Heritage was the platinum gives you the luxury experience, which is Range Rovers. They even went from Land Cruisers to Range Rover, and I was thinking like, okay, that's really bold of them, to commit to
Correct.
something like that. And the other part was also Range Rovers, but they're 1950s, so 50,
Okay.
70 years older Land Rovers. And that the whole concept, the designer, really was really inspiring. And I said, as okay, now I've gotten my benchmark, but there's not only Platinum Heritage.
There are many such. Yes.
There not just many, but the UAE is how do you say? It has so many of these, and they all. So it was it's a very inspiring destination, but it
True.
only took me 7 years to open up in UAE and like become part of that. 7 years, quite a lot, because it was
Oh,
in
no.
comfort zone. I was really focusing on Qatar until the World Cup. The moment World Cup was done, I'm like, okay, Qatar for me is done. I need to go out. Uh, so yeah, and that's when I started trying in UAE.
So, according to you today, which are the top emerging destinations as of this year? I know your main area of focus is Middle East and the GCC, but apart from that, or even in GCC, which are the top travel destinations, the new destinations which are emerging, which are not yet much explored?
Look, if you Google today the top emerging destinations, you will get all the 200 destinations in the world. Different websites will give you different emerging destination depending on who's paying them,
Correct.
right? But it depends, you know. You always rely on the short haul market. The short haul is whatever is in your 3 hours. So for UAE, you know, it's always going to be Saudis that are going to be the toppest market. For Saudi, it's always going to be Egypt, Sudan, what do you call it? Kuwait, Qatar, UAE, because they're all in 2 hours distance. So
Yes,
emerging destination, I think they're ever changing. You know, today there is one, but tomorrow there will be another. And I'm talking about
correct.
24-hour cycle. Well, one of the destinations that I think is um, is gaining attraction is Yas Island in Abu Dhabi.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
so Abu Dhabi has this
And they're
Yas Island
promoting it
inside,
in a very good
and
way,
and
with
it's,
all
it's
the
insane, you
events
know.
going
Yeah,
on. Yes, yes.
yeah. But also, it actually
Even-
isn't is. Go ahead.
No, I was saying that even Azerbaijan, I think, has is emerged quite a bit in recent times.
I think that it's not. I mean, Azerbaijan is a country that. So see, Azerbaijan is a country which has very nice weather during summer, right? So it's
Yeah,
summer destination for us.
correct.
Okay, we just rather go to Azerbaijan to spend like slightly less hot summer and explore as well. But if you ask someone, you know, what's your dream destination in GCC, they will not tell you it's Azerbaijan, you know.
That's
They
true.
will not
That's
tell
true.
you it's, you know, so it depends on what sort of, what's the purpose of your travel.
Correct. Uh,
You
That's
know,
true.
Saudi has this amazing side, you know, which is quite unknown. And even to me, you know, who lives in Riyadh today, but I kind of didn't know about it and it was in Saudi. And that's the south of Saudi, you know. The south of Saudi is enriched in history and buildings that are standing for 1,000 years. And they're insane. It's like you look at it and you don't believe your eyes. Okay. But when you go there, it still not is your dream destination. A dream destination has to be wow, you know, and your dream destination might be different than my dream destination. Okay. Or
Absolutely.
if we, you know, if yeah, even if you talk about trends, you know, they will keep that, and the trends in today's market have been ever changing. Today you want to go to Bora Bora, tomorrow you're like, you know what, I just want to go to Red Sea Islands instead. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And in the talks, I even forgot what the actual question was. So
Yeah, as to
if this
what are
doesn't
the
answer,
emerging. Yeah, but that is true
yeah.
that these, because of changing times, the new destinations come up, and it's very personalized. So for me, maybe I would love to go on more of an adventure travel or that kind of a holiday, but for someone else it would be more serene, more calm, more relaxing. So according to the preference, of course, the destinations change. Again, weather, there are a lot of things which are involved in. Dream destinations would be different for each and every one, but on the whole, GCC as a market for travel and tourism is largely evolved. In fact, you mentioned Doha. I think Doha completely has transformed in recent times. I think it's one of the luxury places that you can visit with, everything which is new, luxurious, and it's just top end.
Exactly. Okay, so talking about the emerging markets, Europe for sure is receiving less than it used to. Okay, this is due to higher costs of everything. You know, they
Yes.
themselves are going through the higher costs. Southern Europe still remains, open to tourism and as
Yeah.
an option. For example, Greece is trying its best, even though it's bankrupt. Okay, which is so funny. One of the European countries is bankrupt, but it still remains. I mean, for example, if you go to Santorini,
Yeah.
it's more expensive than a lot of places in the world. But there could be an
Absolutely.
island next to Santorini. It might be very cheap and makes your bucket list. Filled with visited Greece, right? I think that the two continents that are going to receive more and more, and probably the future, and in where you should really invest for higher growth, because you can always invest in Europe and they have a very stable growth, right? So that's also a good option. But I think for higher growth, Africa and Asia are getting more. And when I say
Emerging.
Asia, it's across the board. So
Yeah.
these two are quite emerging as continents, especially so when you talk about dream destinations, you want to go to Africa, definitely, because Africa
Absolutely.
offers you experiences in Africa are not cheap, by the way. Those safari
True.
trips
That's
cost
true.
a lot.
It costs a
You
lot.
cannot travel to Africa whenever you cannot travel to Africa
Yes.
whenever you want to. You can go to Yas Island tomorrow.
Yeah.
you know the flights are
That's
not expensive. The range of hotels are quite there, and that's what the Yas Island is aiming towards.
aiming
It's
towards.
more
Yes.
accessible. Africa simply doesn't aim towards mass tourism. They want very, very quality travelers.
Exactly.
They want people with cameras. They want people with cash in their pockets, and it's so good that the quality that they have for it's not luxury at all, but the
Yeah.
quality is insane, because it cannot be luxury. It can only be
It's
it
a
can be
totally different
luxury,
experience.
but yeah, it can be luxury, but you cannot use cars then, because Africa, the whole safari experience doesn't have paved roads. So
Correct.
even if they give you a Range Rover, it's still gonna move on the off road. So best to go with a helicopter or a plane, or I don't know, whatever air solution you have with all the luxuries. So these are sort of emerging continents. Since Saudi is in the game, it's giving a very crazy push to the to the GCC, Arabian Peninsula. When I say Middle East, I don't mean the whole of the place. No, actually, because when a Brazilian, for example, wants to travel from 14, 15 hours away, he doesn't just want to go to UAE. He wants to go all the six countries of
Correct.
Arabian Peninsula. You know, so why would not why would so it has opened the doors to other countries as well. Everybody wanted to go to Saudi Arabia. It has histories of 10, 11,000 years. That's
True.
insane amount of history. I mean, they have fossils. It's so interesting, what Saudi Arabia can offer in the region, not just
And of
from
course,
the.
religious tourism is, of course, prominent in Saudi Arabia.
If you go back, around 30 years ago, there was no such thing as leisure tourism or business tourism. It was only
Correct.
religious tourism.
Yes.
The two craziest, most busy city are Mecca and Kufa
Makkah
in
and
Iraq.
Medina.
Which no, Mecca, Medina, yes. Sorry, the three busiest city: Mecca, Medina, and Kufa in Iraq. If
Iraq.
you Kufa is hidden. Why? Because it's for the other sect of Islam, right? So the Sunnis, which is the majority, don't really hear about it. The Sunni make
True.
a huge population. There's a fraction of them, but they make a huge population. So Kufa is extremely busy as well with religious tourism,
Tourism.
and that's
Yes.
that. I was thinking, what can I add to my tours that is religious and attract those people? It's a fun activity, actually.
So, we were talking about technology earlier before we started the conversation. How is AI reshaping this travel industry by offering some hyper personalized experiences, or could AI driven itineraries be the future of this travel industry?
So Well, there are parts, that you need to understand. For example, AI definitely means automation, but you also need someone who can drive those automation. And currently, the market doesn't offer many of them. Okay.
True.
Um, then, AI in different sects. Let's say that it can give you an itinerary to go to UAE, but it's going to be quite mediocre, and it can also basically give you wrong ideas of from the itinerary. So we, as travel advisor or consultant, we use AI, or we use ChatGPT or Google Gemini or any of the large language model to refine the itinerary. So I give, for example, instructions to the language model, and I tell him, please add these places and make sure it has meal time, it has interval. The average hours is 8 to 10 hours. What I want him to write is, I don't want to write the whole itinerary by myself. I can write,
Correct.
day one this, day two that, fly this,
Basically,
and it
you're
can give me like
training the
organized.
model.
So you cannot, for currently, if you're using a large language LLM
Language.
uh, for the free version of the $10 version, in ChatGPT is only $10 per month. All of these are across the board. We use Perplexity, which is more updated until today.
Yeah.
Because all these LLM, they give you quite old information, so
True.
you're just getting what's that word in English? You're just getting deceived by them. You're just getting happy because it's giving you actually such nice content, right? So those ones, even if you train them, you're not really training them. They're like a white label, right? In order to train them, you need to invest in LLM, SaaS model, not SaaS model. You need to like get a company to give you the LLM, which you can
Correct.
put your command, and then you can train, and then it can adapt, right? So the point is that it needs a lot. It just has reduced the time of an itinerary being done in 20 minutes to 1 minute. Okay,
True.
so that is actually good. I don't say that it's not good. And there are so many tools in the market that can actually give you a more, not a refined itinerary, but like with pictures, which
Better
the clients
structured.
are looking
Yes.
for.
Yes.
Yeah, better
Yes.
structure, but you just need to have crazy amount of prompting experience, like giving proper prompts, not just that, but understanding the whole workflow, how you want things to work, right? So that being said, if I want to go to Brazil, I shouldn't I should not use ChatGPT and rely on it. I can use it to get information. What's also nice is that I actually don't like reading on Google. So when I was asking, I started using these LLMs by giving it a prompt. What is, what is this, and all. So it was giving me like a brief answer. So I like that because instead of going on Google and searching article by
Searching
article,
separate.
sometimes
Yes.
these LLMs, yeah, sometimes these LLMs give you that. But you still should talk to a travel advisor because, in the end, the travel, regardless of how much AI will go tomorrow, and for a very long time, we're going to have the need for travel advisors uh, innately in this industry because you feel comfortable, you feel relieved, confident when you talk
Talking
to
to
a
someone
person.
in person. Yes.
If I'm coming to UAE, I definitely want to talk to you. I don't want to ask an AI, what does Al Fatih technology does,
Correct.
what can they
True.
give me in UAE? Yes.
And even for that matter, sometimes customers have specific requirements. Maybe there's a baby on board, or maybe there's someone who's handicapped. So, for such kind of personalized experiences, uh, the LLM would just give you a very generic answer, maybe not specific to certain requirements which the customer has. Which, when you're talking to someone in person, these things would be taken into consideration and the itinerary would be designed according to that, keeping that concept or that particular requirement in mind. So I think that is again a very big area where definitely the need for an actual in-person travel agent or someone who's a travel expert would definitely be there.
Correct, correct. So one of the things we're leveraging on is the website. So in the
Yeah,
website usually for us, website doesn't bring a lot of bookings, but there's another reason why we have it. It's more like a portfolio. We have a lot of corporate clients. We have a lot of schools. When they go on the website, they're like, okay, they have very nice website, but also it's very and they have a lot to do. At the same time, when you fill that website of yours with all the information that you're actually giving to the client, you can then install an LLM, and with that, taking specifically from the website and each and every destination that you have on the website. So I operate in four destinations, Saudi, Oman, Qatar, and UAE, right? So if I have all the information for Qatar, for Oman, and for Saudi Arabia, for UAE, and then I can rely on the LLM actually. But I have to rely on the LLM as a travel advisor, just to make
correct.
my job simpler. So I have that feature currently. Okay, let's say, and I get an inquiry, and people just ask me, I'm there in Qatar for 3 days, and Oman for 5 days, and I'm in Saudi for, let's say, another 5 days. I want to visit these things. And now it's so much easier for me to make an itinerary and send it to them, rather than like, okay, in Qatar you'll visit this at this time. This is where you want to have lunch. This is where you can stay in these hotels. These are the prices. Mainly it's FIT, so you don't have to go back to the hotel and get the rates from them. It's already with me, right?
Correct.
So by the end of the writing the email, I have already I have already filled the information in the smart itinerary. So the itinerary that AI is giving you is very generic, and it's what it's what the AI is good at doing, right? But if I put a little bit of effort and put some filters around these itinerary, these feature, I can actually give it very, very concise and proper itinerary. So I can not only tell them that these are the hotels that you stay with, but basically I'm writing an email, and the smart itinerary is taking the data and creating day one, day two, day three, day four, and all the
Absolutely.
days. By the end of the email, I have the itinerary, and I can just revise. I can just change quickly what I want to change, and the moment I finish my email, I can also send the same itinerary. So this is leveraging, let's say.
Yes.
This
Yes.
doesn't this
You are
is not
leveraging.
yet
Yes.
there.
You're not relying on it,
Okay?
you're leveraging it.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, the feature that I just told you about saved me time, saved me energy, saved me everything. All I had to do was just like, okay, this makes sense, makes sense, makes sense. Basically, what wouldn't make sense is that you're staying in Doha, but the hotel they're offering is for Oman. Okay, so that is what you don't want. And currently, LLMs are doing that.
True.
Currently, LLMs are, for example,
You have to be super.
you write. Yeah, so for example, I want to write about the coffee farms. Now, look at this LLM thingy. Yeah, this is personally experienced the day before yesterday. I have a 15 days itinerary in Saudi Arabia, and I have specific things to do. And there's a place which has a coffee farm, and it also has cave houses. Okay. Now, if you hear of coffee farm, just remember one thing: coffee farms are cannot grow above 1,800 and below 1,200. Okay. So if coffee farms are 1,200 and 1,800, I just wrote Jabal Shada, that was the name, and where we will visit coffee farm and have a full-on coffee farm experience with locally traditional meal cooked. And I gave this prompt, and the result I got was Jabal Shada is the highest mountain in Saudi Arabia, where you will visit the coffee farms and then go to a restaurant in Al Baha. Let's say. but I didn't give these, these instructions. So somehow it's collecting from a different destination where Jabal Shada, probably, with the same name, is highest,
True,
and then it's merging with Saudi Arabia. So you also kind of, you see, like it's now making your life hard because you have to now read every single word, make sure that
true,
there's no
true,
such thing as mistake and all that. Yeah.
true, true, true. And apart from that, I also wanted to know what other, innovatives. So itinerary is one thing, but then you also have things like augmented reality. So even in those ways, what kind of innovations can you bring about in the travel industry to maybe enhance the adventure aspect of travel, or maybe in any other ways, if we can use the VR experiences? Any take on that?
Well, look, the VR and augmented reality is very, very famous for government entities instead of, as travel operators. But when you reach to a certain travel operator level, maybe crossing, $100 million threshold, then you start to invest in these experiences. But they're quite famous between, the authorities. For example, Malaysian airline. Um, I was reading the news the day before yesterday. Whenever they want to do something special, they just say, "We'll give you a 360 experience." What is a 360 experience? And it's augmented reality or VR experience. But at the same time, it's actually nice. It's actually nice, and I think if tourism, smaller players, let's say I consider myself small, even though if I operate in four destinations, that doesn't make me big. I just have more capacity to do business in multiple countries. I should really start to leverage on these technological things because I was thinking, wouldn't it be good if I have a client who has paid me $50,000 in the past whatever number of days? It can also be in 10 years. What if I just gift her the augmented reality or the virtual reality set, and I tell them, here, every time you get confused about Qatar, just wear this and start imagining this is Qatar, and like go around and all that. And I was just thinking, and actually, you asked me right on one of the chats that you talked about augmented reality and virtual reality,
Yes.
and at the same time I was reading that Malaysian article, and also the Singapore. I mean, they're all leveraging on them, because it's increasingly becoming something big. And I was like, maybe this is good, but again, virtual reality and augmented reality, it did not get the fame that they were looking for. So same thing with metaverse.
Yeah.
Facebook invested so much money in metaverse,
In metaverse, yes.
but it did not get it's still
It's
maybe
still at a very
the
nascent
gen.
stage. It can grow. It can grow.
Yeah.
For example, I, would always love this concept or an experience where uh, maybe today, if I want to shop in Paris, or if I want to shop in Dubai Mall, sitting somewhere else across the globe, if I have that kind of an experience where I can just go virtually, I can go into the shop, I can look around, I can buy. So I'm not just, getting a 2D experience of sitting and shopping online from an e-commerce website, but I'm actually there in that space. So I think that would be a next level experience that we can have in travel, which maybe in future can be offered, as you said, gifting a VR headset to one of your clients who's always been there as your customer throughout, to just give them that experience that, okay, whenever you want to again revisit your old memories, here it is, wear it and have a look at what's going around. So I think
Yeah.
definitely this can be the future.
And it's not cheap. And it's not cheap because the virtual reality headset is one thing, but then the content is another thing. I have a very interesting story. Like around Corona time, I was approached by one of the PhD students into mechanics and joystick, um, and like engineering. So he's an engineering student who proposed that we do real camel riding via virtual reality. And the camel will be driven by this jockey that will be installed, and then people could just sign into the website and then pay like $10, $15 or $20 for the camel to be ridden. So they see like a three. So they see. Actually, it wasn't even VR. VR was the next step. It was just for now on the screen.
Okay.
Uh, the issue is, yeah, the issue is that all of this would cost $75,000. $75,000 for someone to try out his idea through on my back is a bit of a stretch. Let's say that it's not easy, to
Yeah.
put $75,000 into a. I mean, it is a nice idea. You can ride a camel at any time while sitting, But I'm like, it's not a necessity. Usually, you pour a lot of money into necessity, which has high demands and like food businesses, coffee businesses, um, real estate, all that stuff, or cars, for now, and then the hospitals becoming massive businesses, schools, and all. This you can put money, no problem, into technology. That is the, it's safer. And then the next step would be to go for VR and maybe put it on a Falcon and all that. I'm like, yeah, it's all interesting, but you're trying to, this is,
It's an
if you want
experiment.
to try, we have to try through our resources, not through our money.
True.
Uh, Putting money in the first phase for something that's never been there is quite risky, let's say.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
So lastly, how have the recent global changes influenced travelers' mindsets regarding the luxury and the adventure travel? And what do you think are the new trends which are emerging as a result of this?
Yeah, look, so, I mean, if you think about it, there is the luxury is coming towards us, right? So before we
Yeah,
had to go through towards luxury, so it's also coming towards us because the market understands that somehow people are not able to afford traveling anymore much, right? It is increasing, which is also a cool thing. So now you have all inclusive concepts, right? And that just saves you a headache of if you go to a place where you're uncertain about how much you want to pay and how much you don't. All inclusive sort of covers you, from that end.
yeah,
And then you just have to spend on it, and you can do a proper research, and you can also hire a local guide and personalize it more and all that. So from the luxury point of view, it's somewhat there, okay, and it's also coming towards us. Competition is making things a bit cheaper, so it's a bit more affordable as well. But as you said, it will not be needed anymore. It will not have the same effect if it gets in mass. The mass is not there, but what's compensating? We have to always look, So you have one thing that is the traveling and buying as an individual, but I have maybe 15 team members, right? Not all of them can afford to go to an all-inclusive resort in Turkey, let's say, and then pay for a lot of experiences as well. Who can afford that? I can afford it, right? So instead of them going for it, I surprise them with the trip, right? And that's the biggest part. That's the most uh, what do you call it? That's the most common travel today, business travel. There's
yes,
always a guilt. There's always a guilt when you travel, like especially when you are self-employed, when you're entrepreneur, when you're business person, when CEO, when you're a decision maker. When basically you have more money than an average employee, right? I don't say employees don't make money. I, I think that they do, and a lot of employees make a lot more than entrepreneurs and all that. But employees don't have this, I
the
want to
freedom to
travel
just,
today.
yeah, correct, yeah, the freedom to
They
go just,
can't. The
yeah,
freedom to go, right? And it's fine because they probably don't want that, right? And some employees have very good relationship with their bosses, and then they enjoy the best of both, right? the employee perk and also the self-employed perk. So if I travel as an entrepreneur, I will always have guilt. I'm like, yo, I'm again in Turkey, and I could be making money. That's usually how um, people they're self-employed, you know. So I'm giving a general term, you know, entrepreneurship. Um, what do you call it? People that are working on freelance basis, people that are entrepreneurs, people that are business people, self-employed. Let's say, yeah. There's always guilt. You know, I travel to other place, but now I have potential meetings in Riyadh that I could be making money from, right? So how do you compensate? There are many ways to compensate, but one is that you travel for business, but you also have leisure, and that's
Leisure.
compensating. You know, that's compensating for
True.
those companies that are making it competitive so that they can come close to individuals. But now companies are increasingly sending their employees out. They want these people to go out because a happy employee means that he can bring more money
More
and
productive, yes.
more productive and happy and can have a good CSR impact as well. At the same
Yeah.
time, companies don't want to have this image that their employees are talking bad about them. So a lot of employees, when you talk to them today, they would be quite loyal to their own employers. You could recall 10 years ago, every single person you would meet in this world would just be hating their employer. They would be hating their work. So now companies are increasingly trying to change that image.
True, true, true. So
Yeah,
yes, because today, people travel for work. They generally mix travel and leisure trips. uh, People, as we discussed earlier, yes, experiences is what, uh, I would not say a major market share, but there are a lot of people who want to not only just travel, but they have their bucket list. They want experience traveling. So those trends are emerging. Uh, Social media, that is something that we also discussed. So social media definitely plays a very important role on travel, because you go out to eat, you visit a new place, you want to put it out there, you want to let people know that this is a new destination. Today, if I open my Instagram, every other day I see a new place which is coming up, or a new restaurant which has been a hidden gem which has been uncovered in UAE or maybe somewhere else. So I think travelers today have a lot of, the entire travel experience has shared. I want to go to a place which is not much explored, rather than going to a place which is a very common destination. So this is,
correct.
and that's where we as travel experts, or a proper travel company plays a major part by giving them that kind of experience. So you may be visiting UAE, or you may be visiting Saudi, but then if you're giving them, as you mentioned, a total different storytelling experience, I think that would elevate their entire travel itinerary to the next level, because this is something that not everybody has experienced. So they are
Correct.
getting a totally different view of the same place that many others have been to. So I think that's very important today. That also puts a lot of responsibility on people who are providers of such travel experience. As you said, innovation. You research, you look at different travel destination spots, you see what other companies are doing, and that is how you learn and you grow. So I think that is something which is very important in today's market.
Correct. Um, One of the crucial things about all these travels and like in destination experiences comes from the tour guide, or the operator that you're using. If the tour
Yes.
guide kind of makes you feel like that he's got or she's gotten your back, and you don't have to really do the thinking, and the sequence he or she is going through is making sense, to the traveler as well, and takes you to the right places at the right time, or just the places, good places at the right time. It just changes everything. For example, and Riyadh for me is one of the best cities to live in today, right? It's amazing. It's so exciting. I've lived in Dubai, I've lived in Doha, I've lived in Riyadh, and I've lived in surrounding cities as well, but I haven't lived there for long. And I think Riyadh is like crazy, especially like actually all the time it's crazy. But let's just say that there's a very famous place called Dir'iyah, where it's the most historical place of the Riyadh city, back into 200 plus year of history of that building, but also it has a 1,500 years old history of the whole wadi, And if you go on a Friday, you don't get tickets, so you don't want a tour guide that takes you there on a Friday.
True.
If you go there on a Friday, but go there before 5 p.m., there is a chance that you can get in. So you want a tour guide that sets an itinerary. In the end, like even if I give you an itinerary, it's bound to change either before they arrive or during they arrive. They will always, do whatever it pleases them. They've already paid you, right? So now currently the customer,
Yeah.
the client, is the boss. The tour guide just needs to make sure that he doesn't go on the wrong times. If the tour guide takes you on Friday at after 5 p.m., there's a chance that you will not get tickets. At the same time, it might be extremely busy, not giving you the right experience. So that is
Correct.
important, Place place is one thing, but experience is another thing.
Experience. Yes.
So,
Agree.
so when
Agree.
once you go, you have to take them extra miles. Then another thing is that how do you want to do the tour? Do you want to have food before the tour or after the tour? So if you
Yeah.
arrive, before 7 p.m., it's best to do the tour before food. It would be
True.
nice because you'll be hungry and all that. But if you arrive around 8 p.m., it's best to go for food first, and
Yeah.
then after 1.5 hour, when you are set, then use that energy to explore, and you might be able to explore more and have these tea experiences there as well. One thing that is so interesting in Doha, I did that in one of the cruise ships, So I worked for as a tour guide for cruise ships for quite a few times, and I got the city tour with Souq Waqif, but we only got 30 minutes in Souq Waqif. Now, for anyone who's traveling to Doha, you need almost a whole day in Souq Waqif. Okay, you will not get bored there. And these guys, of course, they are not going to be happy if I tell them we're only having 30 minutes in Souq Waqif. So you know what I did? I only chose the best place in Souq Waqif and just let them spend the most amount of time there, right?
True.
So I took them to the camel market and they loved it so much. They just stood there for 20, 25 minutes. And before going there, I ordered for kunafa, which is a very nice sweet
Yeah.
in the Middle East, it's from Palestine.
Yeah.
But everybody's doing a good job with making it in any of these countries. And by the time we arrive and we have to go back, we pass by that restaurant, and then everybody gets like a bite. So this one, it's actually a bite. It's not that every person gets a piece. No, it's actually a bite or two max, and that really changed their experience. And
Correct.
they,
That's
you
what
know,
smart
when
thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not saying praising myself or something. Actually, the idea actually came when I was on the tour and I was craving kunafa, and I'm like, let me just get it. Then I was like, if I get it, I need to get all these 40 people as well, and I did
True.
that. you know, I did that. I just got all the 40 people. Like 30 riyal, which is less than 1 riyal a person, same as dirham.
True.
I just got, and everybody got to take a bite. Now they liked it so much they wanted to have more, but there was no more kunafa, so they were stuck with me now, and they liked it so much because it was not included in the plan. So if I gave them a bite, they would crave more. Okay, but they cannot give me a 1-star review because it was never included. So anyway, that's a plus. Yeah,
True. True.
yeah.
That's true. So, on that note, once again, Mr. Miraj, thank you so much for joining us today on the Professionals Pulse. I think I've absolutely enjoyed myself having this conversation with you. Thank you for sharing these small things, small experiences. It was thoroughly enjoyable.
Thank you so much for giving the chance to speak about the travel and tourism trends. It's always good to add information, always good to add more data to people that are trying to do something about it.
True, true. And with that, signing off as we wrap today's episode about redefining the travel in today's times, it is clear that the world of travel is evolving in exciting ways, blending the thrill of adventure, the allure of emerging destinations, and the sophistication of modern luxury. Whether you're an avid traveler, a professional in the industry, or someone who's just dreaming of their next getaway, we hope that this conversation has inspired you to explore beyond the ordinary and embrace new experiences as well as seek out journeys that are as meaningful as they are memorable. Stay tuned for more insightful discussions. And until next time, keep exploring, stay curious, and redefine your travel experience. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Miraj.
Same. Welcome, welcome, Farida.